The concept of variables is a core concept not only in JavaScript but in most programming languages. I'm going to explain you what variables are by using an analogy. Variables are a bit like boxes that have a certain label on them, so they have a name, um, and you put a value or many values in these boxes. You store information in these variables, and then you can retrieve that information back, or you can modify what's in there. So I can have a box that has a label name, and I can put in there a piece of text, what we call a string, that's just text, that says Pablo. And then I can ask, okay, what's in the box labeled name? And the answer will be Pablo. Or I can change what's in there. I can say, okay, now in the box name, we're going to store another name. So you can store in these variables pretty much anything. It can be numbers, names, whether something is true or false, or collection of elements, what we call arrays, and we'll cover later on in the course, and more custom, more complex objects as well. So that's about it. Let's see how we can create them. So I have an empty HTML document here. I have my web browser open. See how I have the console open as well, because we're developing in JavaScript. So we want to see if we make any errors, they'll show here. Or if we want to see the value of a variable, we're also going to show it here. We're not going to get into modifying or accessing the DOM, the HTML, until the very end of this course, because we need to learn the basic tools first. We need to get comfortable with coding in JavaScript before we can make more complex things. So let me get started by opening a script tag, and we'll define our first variable, and I'm gonna call it name. So see how I'm using the keyword var to define a variable. I'm gonna call it name, and I'll give it a value. That's why I'm using the equal sign. The value it's gonna be your name, and I wanna see this, have this shown in the console. So this is how I can get access to this variable, just by writing its name. And I'm gonna reload the page now. See how it's showing me the value that I entered here, which could be, if I reload the page again, it's gonna be this one. As I mentioned, variables can also be numbers. I can define two numbers, or I can do it like this, which is exactly the same. Whoops. And I can do operations as well. So I can do something like this. And let's show in the console. Let's show this in the console, and you'll get the result of 3. So that's about it. That's a quick introduction to variables. Variables are a bit like boxes that have a label, and there's basically two things you can do with them. You can put a value in a variable, or you can get a value from a variable, which we're doing here. Before moving on to the next lesson, I'm going to show you how to write comments in JavaScript code. So what we have here is a variable defined as 10, and then we add 100 to this value. So this will take the value of 110, as you can see in the web browser. Because we're humans, sometimes we don't understand what's in the code, or we want to remind ourselves for the future what we're doing, or we want to communicate with our team. So you can write comments that don't get evaluated as expressions by using these 2 forward slashes. So this is a comment that is for me to read or for somebody else in my team to read, but it does not change anything of what's going on. Sometimes people use the expression comment something out, like comment this line out. In this case, I'm commenting this out, which means that I'm turning that line into a comment, and then it's no longer evaluated. If I reload the page, you'll see that this hasn't been executed. It's not even checked for syntax errors or anything. It's just a comment for a human being to read. You can write comments that are multi-lines by using a forward slash and asterisk, and then you can start writing your comment like this, and then eventually you close it like this. So that's a multi-line comment. Those and these kind of comments, they don't get evaluated, they don't get executed. They're only for human to human communication.